we have another Kevin here, he, him in Georgia. And it sounds like you want to challenge the support of the transgender community. Is that about right, Kevin?
I wouldn't say that's exactly accurate. More of the assessment of why you guys think it's okay. But before we even get into it, I do just want to say that I wouldn't call you guys if I wasn't open to being corrected. So other than just stating how I feel about this or the question that I'm going to present, I am open to new information that I probably don't know, which is a big reason why I called you guys. So I just want to put that out there. My question to you is, what's the difference between somebody saying that I know God talks to me at night in prayer and me waking up tomorrow saying I feel like a girl? So I want to be addressed as one, and I am as such.
Well, a lot of different things. It kind of depends on where you're going. But like, for instance, like you've seen people before, right, Kevin? Like you've seen people just like humans.
Sure.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, me too. I know people that go by Susan. I know people that use they, them pronouns. I know people that are black. I know people that are atheists. I know all kinds of people, right? And with that being said, like we don't have that demonstration for God. Like, so that's just a really, really basic thing, right? Also, generally speaking, I guess I don't know every single trans person in the world, but generally it's not just I woke up today on a Tuesday and now I want people to use different pronouns, or I ask that people, be respectful to me and use this name. And that it's not just some snap of the fingers thing. I mean, I'm a cis white guy, so I don't have that personal experience. But with that being said, like, I know a lot of people out there. There are a lot of really, really cool people who have put themselves on the line and really put themselves out there to have their entire life opened up to the average, jackass on Twitter. And it just seems to be the case that it's just not this kind of snap decision thing. And then again, just going back to what are the differences between those claims is like, well, we know people are real. We know people are real, and we understand that sexuality and gender and sex in a biological sense, we know that these things are, it's a distribution. It's not just a binary. We know that, like we have good evidence of that. So
I follow that 100%. I guess to rephrase is, how would you know that what I'm telling you or what anybody says is the actual truth, other than that's what I would want to be, or that's what I fantasize being? How
I guess in that instance, when somebody, hang on just a second. I think you kind of broke up, but I think I kind of understand where you're going, Kevin. For me, in the instance where somebody says, hey, I'm a guy. I know I presented for a while as female. I know it may say that on my birth certificate. I'm actually a guy. I guess I just don't understand what the issue is. Like, why would I question that further? Like, AP comes up to me and he says, hey, this is my name. And I go, yeah, great. And I just, respectfully choose to use the name, and just not be a jerk to him, right? Like, I guess I could constantly misgender people, or I could go out of my way to, protest bathrooms and things. But I don't see what really is on the line other than a human being treated with dignity, right? When it comes to the God claim, if the person saying that God is real is actually correct, like that does have a lot of ramifications, generally speaking, right? At the very least, I'm very wrong about that, right? I have I've chosen the wrong side apparently, and I will join Satan and his minions when fighting Jesus's second coming. That should happen any day now. But yeah, when it comes to somebody, if somebody walks up to me on the street and says, "Hey, these are my pronouns. This is my name. This is my gender," all of that stuff to me, I guess I just don't understand what's wrong with just going, yeah.
Well, I'm with you there, and I just want to clarify in totality. I don't. If someone wants to be a little boy or a girl or a grown man or woman, I do not really particularly care. You know, I'm not homophobic. I'm not transphobic. My gripe is, I'm not going to say specifically is with this show or atheist, but I feel like it comes down to, okay, we're willing to let that slide. Although I feel like if I was on this same show 20 years ago saying that this is what I am, nobody would ask me to demonstrate anything. I feel like it's accepted as it is just because it may not be, you know, obviously it's like you said, what weight does that hold as far as saying a God exists? I agree with you there. My thing is that if we're talking about evidence and truth, why should the weight of the claim matter? What difference does it make? If we're going to just bypass one thing and then magnify glass another, how concerned with truth are we really? That's it's not with them. It's
sure. Hang on, Kevin.
You don't care about that. That's all.
Yeah, hang on, Kevin. I think I mean, again, I think I'm, you know, following where you're going. I could be wrong, and believe me, I could have already said some things that were totally wrong, and there could be people out there in the chat now or comments later that are just ripping me apart. I don't know. With that being said, I don't think my standard of evidence changes at all. Maybe for other people, I don't know everybody, right? But when it comes to me, I have the same standard always. And what I mean by that is, like, we have seen a lot of different evidence out there that somebody that says, "Hey, I'm trans." Well, at the very least, we've seen this thing where, like, if you don't respect that and you're like mean and shitty to that person for no other reason than the fact that they're trans, like, we've seen what the ramifications are, and they're fucking atrocious. And I don't want that. I don't want people being beaten in the streets or jailed for the rest of their lives because they're transgender. That is just not a world that I want to live in. I don't know we'll ever get to a utopia, right? But I think we can, you know, definitely cut down on the fucking violence against a lot of different marginalized groups, right? And when it comes to if somebody walks up to me and says, "I'm black," and I look at them and they look light-skinned to me, well, that doesn't fucking mean anything, right? Like, it just doesn't, like, the way that I perceive the color of their skin doesn't have anything to do with their sense of self, their identity, right? They're separate things. And again, if somebody comes up to me and says, "These are my pronouns, this is my name, here's information about me," I don't know what other evidence really is necessary in that instance. Like, I see you as a person, you're standing here, we're talking, we're shaking hands or hugging or playing soccer. I don't know, whatever the hell we're doing. But the point is, like, we don't have any of that for the deity claim. We don't have any of that for the deity claim. Any day, Kevin, put God in front of me and have God and I talk about pronouns, and I will suddenly start to accept the claim that God is real, right? But we've never had that. We've never had that.
I want to add just one thing. I don't want to. I don't think I'm in a big position to talk about any of this. I don't think I'm greatly equipped. But from what I have, from what I know, from what I have experienced, from personal experience, I know that that people who are trans don't just wake up one morning and say, "Yeah, you know what, I think I'm a girl." So it's usually a very long internal state and a sense of, you know, identification, and you could then recognize that you could deal with a person who has for many years, or since they remember existing, they have been thinking that they belong to a different gender, or that they are actually a different gender, and whatever it is. You could be accepting of that. You could say, okay, this is an internal state. This is your identification. That's okay with me. I don't know why it shouldn't be okay with me. That, however, is not comparable to God, which we say must objectively exist, and for which there must be evidence. You would require evidence for that. I don't think that is comparable to an internal state or personal identification.
Yeah, and I would say, for me, real quick, Kevin, just to say, like, the only understanding that I have of this was when I finally heard the word polyamorous for the first time. My whole life, I had talked with people, I had engaged in relationships, I had felt things and thought things and experienced things my whole fucking life. And one day somebody said, "Hey, do you know about this term?" And I went, "Oh my gosh, I don't know. What is that?" And next thing I know, as I'm sitting there reading off a list of bullet points that says, "Hey, if you kind of feel this way, you might want to think, about looking into polyamory some more." And funny enough, it clicked for me, and that made sense to me. And so in that sense, I understand that, yeah, somebody for 5, 10, 15, 25, 40 years has had this internal state, like AP was just talking about. And for me, I there's the evidence, right? There it is. It's right there. And so I don't need to go much further personally. Yeah, please go ahead.
And I'm definitely I see where you're coming from, and I'm not going to take up a bunch more of your time. Just two more things. I wanted to say one thing and ask one more question. I feel like people call and they have anecdotal evidence for God, and I agree. Anecdotal evidence doesn't really come to an absolute answer. I feel like there's a lot of anecdotal evidence that these people are telling the truth, that they really mean what they say, and that there's even a scientific explanation for it. But my issue is, once again, it's not with them at all. And I don't want them to be treated any differently. They can, do whatever it is that they do, like every other human being. I don't have a problem with it. I feel like we're at a state right now, at least I live in America, I'm not going to speak for the world, where things are becoming accepted without actually taking the process of being tested over time. And my thing is that I know God is a big, big deal. Like, if you said that if I put a Mentos in a Coke and it blows up, I really don't care. Like you said, just like you said, if somebody says they're light skinned and they're clearly black, like, dude, whatever, I got you. But my issue overall, and my last question is that at what point are you going to say that it's anecdotal as opposed to I'm willing to just take them at their word because it's not important to me? But what if it's important to someone else?
Well, so the idea of somebody being trans, or let's just take it even more broadly, because I think it's a better conversation when we just try to step back, because this exact type of argumentation has been used when it comes, years ago mostly, but there's still some places in the world today. But years ago, the argument of homosexuality was very similar. It was just like, well, how do we know these people are even being honest? Like, they're just debaucherous and whatever, yada, yada. I think we have lots of evidence that is not anecdotal, lots of evidence at this point to indicate that the idea of, hang on, listen, that the idea of a simple man, woman, binary, that this idea of a black, white, that's it, like that really isn't the case with human beings, unlike anything, right? Like, we have lots of evidence throughout history of individuals that have all types of different chromosomal and just general makeup of anatomy. Like, we have lots and lots and lots of examples. in general, it seems to be the case. One side, that's where a lot of people seem to sit. But the idea that that's all there is not the case. It's literally always been the case. And we just have evidence, whether it's skeletons that were dug up in Europe, whether it's stories of individuals all throughout the continent of Africa, whether it's two-spirit, third-gendered individuals, indigenous peoples in North and South America. Like, we have all of these things. We have brain scans of people that show similarities and differences. We have hormone balances. I mean, we have quite a fuck ton, if I may say so. And I do believe that's the scientific term, a fuck ton of data to show that this is real. And again, like, are they telling the truth? I would say, and I may get in trouble for this, but I would say that trans people probably lie about the same as every other human being, which is like, yeah, like we all lie about certain things. Are they lying about who they are? I guess I don't know that I could give you the best fucking concrete evidence, physical, whatever, but I'd say most fucking likely they're telling the truth.
And with that, I think we have come to the end of this discussion.
Yeah.
It's been very long.
Yeah.
And
hopefully,
I think we have to move on.
Yeah, hopefully there was something there that helped a bit, Kevin. And again, please, anybody out there, if I fucked anything up, please feel free to reach out to me and help me understand, because I want to understand more and I want to do better. But yeah, I don't think the claims are comparable, and I think we've got a lot of different reasons as to why that's the case.
Absolutely. And thank you so much, Kevin, and have a fantastic day.
Yeah.